All right. Hello and welcome to May's Facebook chat. I'm your host, Robert Soto. We are coming to you live from the CBC, just off the customer service floor. We want to thank you for being with us tonight. And so I'm going to quickly introduce kind of the setup and the format we have today because it's a little bit unusual. We have Jake Vandeloo, who's with us on camera. So Jake, if you want to say hello from camera there.
Hello.
Jake's been with us for 18 years. He's our VP of Equipment Engineering, and he's a face and name you should be very, very familiar with. And Dan Simons is our VP of Maintenance Operations. He's a 22-year associate, and again, another name and face you should be very familiar with, as they've been repeat guests here for on the Facebook chats. Obviously, those two areas are near and dear to our drivers' interests and heart in terms of maintenance and equipment engineering. So we always like having them come back and be able to field questions from you specific to your equipment and maintenance concerns. We also have Vicki Bauman of the Associate Relations team. Normally, you would see Tammy fielding and quarterbacking the questions for us, but Tammy literally just walked in the door after some travel, and so Vicki is pitch hitting, as they say, and so Vicki will be quarterbacking the questions for us today. We also have on our back and in the background, we have a couple of our drivers, Kylie and Kelly Lynn, who are joining us, and we'll just kind of wave to them and say hello. And then Dan Drella of our safety and training team is joining us as well. And then, of course, the social relations team is sitting around the border here. So welcome to the Facebook chat. We are going to start out with Vicki doing a quick update on some new jackets.
Yes. All right. So for those of you that love our award jackets, our old jacket is being retired this year. You've probably have seen that. And we have two new jackets to offer. There is a summer version or a lightweight one that's water resistant. And then we have a nice winter one that has a hood on it. Real nice inside pockets. So you get your choice of award jackets when you have your loyalty points. You'll also get the option to have your patches, your award patches and your performance patches sewn right on. Or if you prefer not to have all those patches on your jacket, you can have them sent to your home. So awesome stuff.
Just wanted to give you a quick look at that and update you since we had the opportunity live on Facebook. And so we will kick off with Dan, just providing an update as it relates to his area, and then we'll go to Jake, and then we'll get into the questions.
Sure, perfect. Well, thanks for having me again.
Thanks for being here, Dan, and
Jake
as well on camera there.
Yeah, usually Jake and I are here live, so it'll be a little bit different to have him on camera, but it's great to be here and great to be with our driver fleet. So certainly I'll start with a thank you for all our drivers out there. Certainly appreciate everything that you guys do. A couple updates that I'll provide from a maintenance, and I'll touch on a few things from a facilities perspective as well that I think are important. But from a maintenance perspective, a couple of things I want to hit on. One is on our driver ambassador role. Hopefully, you guys are getting a good experience with our driver ambassador role in the shops. And I know Robert and I need to spend some time talking about naming conventions because we both are pushing for a driver ambassador. Mine's in the shop. His is with our driver fleet. But the intent of our driver ambassador is for kind of that new driver and that new equipment kind of overview from a technical perspective. So our training team does just a fantastic job of training up our drivers. Where we saw a gap was in making sure that, all right, now once you're at your truck, we threw a lot of stuff at you at training. Now let's walk you through the truck and talk a little more about the technical aspects of the truck and some of the how-tos from a technician perspective as you get into your new truck. So that may be a new driver that is getting into a new truck, or it may be an existing driver that's getting into a brand new truck that maybe has some different components that they're accustomed to. So I'm really excited about that program. We're rolling that out across all of our locations. So if you're not experiencing that, ask for that because I think it's an important part of that onboarding process to make sure that you have a good understanding of the equipment and how it works. So I'm really excited about that program. The second thing, and I talk about this every time that I've been on, is our SCMI app. So that's an app that drivers can use in lieu of a phone call to our emergency maintenance group. So it's a very easy process to use that app, and it's a lot quicker from a response perspective. So that's my shameless plug for our SEMI app that I'll probably hit on a couple of times, maybe as we go through the evening as well. But we've seen some great improvement in usage on that. So I think those that have used that already, but please continue to use that. It's a great avenue to try to speed up that process and improve that experience in the unlikely event that you do break down. The other thing I wanted to cover was on our service site approach. So one of the gaps that we've seen in our maintenance side is the fantastic growth that we've seen with our dedicated fleets and our intermodal fleets. Well, we don't have a lot of brick and mortar shops near those locations. So one of the things that we've really invested heavily in this year and will in the future is creating more of a service site type of an approach, which might be a service truck that we deploy to a region. It might be a container that we put on the ground with some parts and some tooling along with the truck, but it's an attempt to get closer to where that work is happening, hopefully provide a better experience from a driver perspective, to get some of that more light maintenance done closer to where the work is happening, and being able to put an orange wrench, is what I call it, on it versus a vended solution. So obviously, just like everything else, our vendors are seeing a tremendous amount of delay in getting repairs and getting trucks into their shops. So I want to try to get our mechanics closer to the trucks and be more responsive in that way. So right now we're currently in the process of deploying one in kind of, I'll call it that in between Atlanta and Savannah location, one in kind of upstate New York, one in Des Moines, and one in Denver. So those are in process right now that we've got techs hired that we're moving forward with. And then we've got a bunch more that are going to be coming in the near future as well.
That's good news. And often I hear from some of the drivers I talk to, that are on those dedicated sites that are, 100 plus miles from an OC. Those are the things that really impact them. So
absolutely.
Great news to hear that.
Yeah. Yeah, and if I can just hit on a couple of facilities things, because I'm excited about some of the
this is the stuff they care about. So absolutely,
the feedback that we've gotten on just facility improvements. We do a lot of surveys to our drivers and ask a lot of feedback, and then we want to take action against that as well. So just a few updates on some of the things that you'll see in the near future. We've obviously done a bunch of upgrades across the different sites, but these are kind of the ones that are kind of in the near future. So from a shower upgrade, we're doing Carlisle, Gary, Keesby, and Reserve. We're doing some yard improvements in Chambersburg, West Memphis, Gary, Atlanta, and Salt Lake City. We're actually going to expand our lot a bit in Salt Lake City and give us some more parking in that area. Then we're doing some other refreshes, more kind of on the training side, more than anything on Coraopolis, Keesby, West Memphis. And then excited to say that we've also made some changes with our cafe vendors in Gary and Charlotte. And I've heard some pretty positive feedback so far on that transition, and we'll continue to take feedback from the fleet on what's going well and what's not going well, and we'll make adjustments as needed. So appreciate everyone's feedback.
Well, and the important piece there is, of course, that was driver feedback.
Absolutely.
We heard it. We're taking action on it. I think that they're having Taco Friday, not Taco Tuesday, but I guess the next best thing is Taco Friday as they have their grand opening. So excited to see that, and hopefully we'll get some good feedback from those sessions. But again, you've heard us talk about feedback in the past. Our associate engagement survey just closed, and we just got the results back. We do a thorough review of that. And again, this is just another case from a driver services standpoint where that feedback came through. Obviously, sometimes it takes time to figure things out, research, take some action, but we did want to get back and with our fleet and let them know we heard and we've made some improvements. So
yeah,
good stuff there.
And we're not done, right? And so we are going to continue to make improvements across our sites, and that's just the list that I pulled together quick on what's in the immediate future. But we're going to keep making improvements as we go. So keep giving us feedback.
Yeah, thank you, Dan.
All right. Ready for the first question?
Well, we got to go to Jake.
Oh,
just
sorry.
because he's not sitting here.
Gosh, Jake. Sorry.
Out of sight, out of mind, Jake. But we didn't forget you, Jake. If you want to just cover some opening lines for your area as well.
Yeah, absolutely. And I apologize for not being there with you in person. But It has obviously been a very unusual time for new equipment. For anybody that's looked at new automobiles and heard the lead time on buying anything from a Ford Bronco to a Chevy pickup, I think you'll appreciate how challenging it is to get a vehicle that is significantly larger with significantly more complexity and a lot more components. So obviously it's been challenged getting the new trucks into the fleet, which has kept us from getting some of the older trucks out of the fleet. We're on a pretty regular basis faced with making some decisions on changing specs last minute to keep the new trucks coming. So, we've been trying to add more and more driver amenity features. We've had some challenges with some of those features. For example, there was a period of time where, we've been putting LED headlights on all new trucks, and then all of a sudden there's a semiconductor in the LED headlight assembly, and we have to go back to a standard headlight. Another example would be S-bar heaters. So obviously S-bar heaters are a very important part of our sustainability, a very important part of our driver experience, and they unfortunately have just become in short supply. So some of those trucks are going to start hitting our shops, and Dan had talked about the driver ambassador. I'll tell you that's going to be really important for us to make sure drivers understand if the vehicle may have been impacted with any kind of component change. Another thing we're seeing as we get these trucks is sometimes they have to finish them in the parking lot, and sometimes things come up. So we've had some challenges, all the way down to seats and radios, and I'll be honest with you, all the way down to the tires. It's hard to come up with a component that hasn't at one time or another impacted the production and availability of new equipment. So I guess if nothing else, we're desperately doing everything we can to keep the trucks coming. It's been a little bit of a dogfight trying to keep everything squared away, and the same is happening with trailers. So we're trying to get the new trailers into the fleet, having a lot of similar shortages with components. Not as many semiconductors on the trailers, obviously, but we've had challenges. I can go down the line on the number of components on the trailers too that have been impacted, all the way from just when you don't think anything can get worse. We had a ransomware issue with one of the suspension suppliers, and all of a sudden suspensions are impossible to come by. So we're doing everything we can to get the new equipment in, and they're coming. I promise you they're coming. We've got some that are arriving every day now, and hopefully we'll get over this hump here pretty quick. The other aspect of just equipment, one area that I would ask perhaps for a little bit of assistance is tires are very, very hard to come by, and the prices have just been obviously, rapidly increasing. And one challenge that we've seen in the past, and this year for whatever reason has been rapidly accelerating, is drag tires on trailers. So if there's one area that I could perhaps ask for a little bit of assistance from the driver force, is just be aware that we've seen an increase, a significant increase, and we're trying to figure out what it is. We think some of it is just caused by new road solvents, ice melting chemicals that they're using are causing the shoes to rust to the drums. So it's not just a winter issue anymore, and we continue to see that. So using that S pattern when pulling out, making sure the tires aren't dragging, I'll tell you, will absolutely have a great impact on your efficiency, because you won't have to sit waiting for a vendor to show up, and it'll allow us to keep the equipment we do have on the road much more effectively. So I think that's all I've got. And I apologize if you heard the dog barking. Obviously, I am at home right now. I'm on the tail end of a COVID quarantine. Otherwise, I'd be right there with you guys. So
we appreciate it, Jake. We appreciate you still being here with us tonight, and whatever format it is. So thank you. So we'll go ahead and get into the questions. And again, for the drivers out there, you've got two of the folks that kind of they're involved with areas that are such importance and impact to you. So get those questions in so we can get you some feedback right from the folks that are leading those teams. So go ahead.
I can go now?
Yeah, you can go now.
Thank you. Sorry
You're
about
just
that.
too excited.
Sorry about that before, Jake. All right. So Kevin Coker has kind of a long question. Good evening, team. Won't be able to make the live portion today. Question, can the associate relations team get with IT and Box to see if another option for Box can be added to the pickup empty exception task? More specifically, a drop-down box option for truck numbers that are hooked up to the empty that the Box team are showing empty. Box sends empties that are showing at the yard, but they're hooked up to trucks. It would be easier and better if the Box team knew the empty was hooked up to a truck, and that way they will accept your empty exception. instead of continuing to send you the same empty numbers, assuming they are empty. Thanks, and I'll catch the replay when we park tonight. So that's from Kevin.
Thank you, Kevin. Appreciate you sending that. And again, sorry you couldn't be here. Kevin, again, is usually a regular that's attending, again, out of the Nashville market and a TE. So it sounds like he's with a student and they're driving and working. So, Kevin, that's something we absolutely will take back to the tech department and see if we can add that. Those are the kind of things, the kind of feedback we love to hear and hopefully be able to incorporate. Again, everything has a priority and there's so many projects going on. So it will kind of fall into the priority scheme of things there. But we will take that and share it with them, and then we'll get back with you kind of on what the response was from that team. So thank you, Kevin, and appreciate you sending that, and be safe out there.
So Ramon Fosca has the next, I hope I pronounced your name right, Ramon, but he has a couple questions. First of all, he heard you say driver ambassador and asked how you became one. So I'm wondering if that might be the Schneider ambassador team driver.
Yeah. So your ambassadors are techs and mechanics.
So because I'd love to have some more on the tech side. So this will be my shameless plug for any technicians out there that want to come to Schneider. So the driver ambassador I was referencing was a senior technician in our shops that knows our equipment really well and is able to articulate that with our drivers and really show them the how-to, but then also answer some questions and then maybe give them some tips and some points on some easy things that they can do to kind of self-help on the truck from that aspect. So if you're a technician out there and you want to come to Schneider, we're always looking for good technicians across the country. So my shameless plug for technician hiring.
And we appreciate that. And if your question is in reference to the Schneider ambassador team, the one that the AR team is leading the initiative, there is an application process tied to Compass. So you can go to Compass. There's an article there. I believe you have to scroll to the bottom. I'm looking at Jenny and. So you have to search it now. So there was placement now. Obviously, real estate online is important as well. So it's moved. So you'll just have to search Schneider Ambassador Team. And then from there, you can find the link, fill out the application. It comes to us. We then will seek manager endorsement, both your OM and your director of ops. And then we'll follow the process from there. But if you're interested, that's the way to pursue that. And thank you for the question and the interest, whether it's from a tech standpoint or whether it's from a Schneider Ambassador Team standpoint.
All right. And then our next question is also from Ramon, and he asked to talk about the new hourly pay package and how will the new pay impact the dedicated drivers that work 11 to 12 hours of work but only get paid for, let's say, 7 hours. How will they get paid?
So we can't go into detail here with the specificity of the different pay packages. First of all, it's going to vary by line of business. So every line of business and the characteristics of that line of business are going to kind of dictate how we change that pay design. From a dedicated standpoint, your DTL will get with you with the specifics and actually how it impacts you. They'll be able to look at kind of a before and after and give you those numbers because the numbers vary by. And again, it's different by lines of business, but generally speaking, it's going to vary by the work you do, where you're at, your experience level, your time with Schneider, the type of work, all those kind of things. So I wouldn't be able to give you an exact answer other than to say your DTL, your ops leaders will be covering that with you shortly. And again, that varies as well in terms of where you're at, your line of business. It kicked off with intermodal. And it's been, I think it's a week now that intermodal has been in it. And I think not bulk. No. Yes. Bulk has kicked on as well. And again, certain areas, so not across the board. And then it's a wave that will continue across the country. So that's about the most I could provide for you here online live.
All right. Next question, I think, is from maintenance. Eric Gunther would like to know, where are we on gate operations at Carlisle? Inbound speakers still not working. And with the new phone system, you have to you have to go through pumps to get to the fuel desk. Does anybody have an answer on that
So
one?
that question was asked, I don't know if it was Eric, but that question was asked last month, and I was told we were within a week or two of getting
Yeah.
it fixed.
Yeah.
So
Yep.
again, maybe a supply chain issue
I was under that
continues.
same impression.
Okay.
So that'll be a good follow-up
Yeah.
item for us, Eric. So
Yeah.
thank you for the question. But yeah, I thought that was resolved as well.
And this next question is from Austin Wood, and this is probably for you, Robert. What's the time frame for beginning the driver ambassador program?
So great question. The short answer is sooner rather than later. The long answer is we have about 85 or 87 applications that we are now working through. And so we want to work through it quickly, but we want to do it right. So we have begun the process of asking ops for their endorsement of the candidate, and then we will start reviewing those. We'll set up some virtual interviews, if you will, and then from there we'll continue to face-to-face interviews. So it's going to take a little while because we want to make sure we have a solid team, and we want to be as broad across the network in the country as possible. Perfect scenario, east, west, north, south, every line of business, that kind of thing. I don't think it'll be that easy or that pretty, but we'll have we're going to vet those applications and placement, and then so we'll be moving through that as quickly as we can. But time-wise, I couldn't give you a date, but we are working it.
Jake, this next question is specifically for you. It's from Denise Smith, and she would like to know, why did you guys take away space from the driver's side and the seat? They don't slide back as far as they did before.
So I appreciate Denise raising this. So I communicate with Denise pretty regular, and she's been fantastic at providing feedback, especially on the new trucks, because the team drivers, as you guys are aware, have a little bit shorter trade cycles, so they're getting the trucks a little bit quicker, and it's just a great outlet for us to get feedback. We've looked into this pretty extensively, and we're not done yet, so that's the good news. When I talked in the beginning about shortages, a couple things, seats are one of those components that were short, and what we found out is when they were installing them in the plant, they have a different process they follow than when they install them in a parking lot. And in some of these examples, as we've investigated it, what we found is they installed them. So some of the feedback was, hey, I'm not centered on the steering wheel. Some of the other feedback is, hey, it feels like I'm twisted in the seat. And as we've looked at it, what we found is there's slots to allow for that seat-based adjustment. Now, some of the other items that I've heard from her and from some of the other team drivers, I can assure you we're still looking into. So there's some comments about holding adjustment. There's some other comments. And what I would tell you is this is one of those where, in an effort to try to create a driver benefit, so we always look for ways to differentiate our team drivers, just because it's not easy when you're sharing a truck with somebody else for that long. We had looked at putting in heated and cooled seats. So in an effort to make it even better, we dimensionally were under the impression the seat was the same. So at no point did we intentionally change the dimension or change how the seat was mounted. Now, we're still investigating some of the other complaints. There was one I saw where it wouldn't hold adjustment, and I saw a follow-up work order where they made a repair to the seat. There was another one where they said it didn't have enough room, and they were able to adjust the seat base further back. So those are all the things that we're trying to understand, if these are just one-off because they were installed in the parking lot, or if we truly have a supplier issue, or if, you know what, we just have to go back to the drawing board. But I can tell you we're looking at some seat alternatives, and somebody on my team, Denise, if you haven't heard from them already, maybe reaching out to see if we can try some different seat options, because obviously we're paying more for this feature, and if it's not providing the benefit we had hoped, we are very happy to go back to what you prefer, or perhaps a different alternative. So more to come on that one as we continue to look into it.
Thank you, Jake.
All right. Joel Torres says, hello, everyone. So I had someone ask me why Schneider does not have a training facility in Florida, and if there are any plans for one in the future.
I'm not aware of any plans for a training center in Florida. I think our training footprint is pretty static. I don't know, Dan, if you've got any insight to that.
Two in the Atlanta area. We've be the nearest.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. Again, I don't know of any plans either, but Atlanta, it's regional, right? We can't have one everywhere, but we feel like we have a pretty good spread, whether it's intermodal or van or bulk. And so, yeah, Atlanta's pretty close, and we send the students there and get that throughput at one location.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you for the question.
All right, next question is from Lisa Starr. She says, good evening from Chambersburg. As we know, there is a shortage of containers. Therefore, we have to share well in to see where to go next. This process can be very long. Is there any way with the Find My Trailer app, which right now only gives you the trailers, to get, not only gives you trailers at the customers, is there any way to get other ones?
I don't know in terms of.
Like within 100 miles or so.
Oh, I see. So expand the radius.
Expand the radius. Sorry, there.
Lisa, I don't know.
It's a really good question.
Yeah, it's a good question. Yeah. And Lisa's from our Chambersburg intermodal site. And so thank you for the question, and thank you for being on. Lisa, we will take that one as a due out and share again with tech and what the capabilities are there. And then we'll get you an answer on kind of where that falls. But thank you for that question.
All right, then our next question, Jake, this one's for you as well. It's from Kelly Lynn McLaughlin, who is actually in the audience. And she says, Jake, my seat has always been 1 inch off center as well, but it's a 2020, not one of the new tractors. I thought I was crazy, but finally took it to the shop. Oh, and as a comment, she was able to get it adjusted.
Okay.
So, sorry there.
And again, Kelly,
they were not. I think they were not able to adjust it. Is that right, Vicki?
Oh, sorry.
They were not able to adjust it. One of the oddities of me sitting here is I can see the comments as they come in, which I'm not used to. So on that particular one, Kelly, I think I know your truck number pretty well. What we can do is we can track down the VIN on that. If you happen to have a tape measure, I can reach out to you on the side and we can try to capture a couple key measurements to make sure that the mounting area is installed correctly and see if we can't figure out what might be going on your truck. Because this is an interesting one that once I think one person spoke up, then a number of people started raising their hands saying, yeah, I have the same problem too. And I can tell you, when you sit in a seat as a non-driver, you do not notice it. But I can imagine spending 11 to 14 hours sitting in that chair. It is a very different perspective. So we certainly want to get it right.
Thank you, Jake.
Did you want to do the shout outs?
Oh, we can do the shout outs. All right. Shout outs. We have Bob Larrabee from Hilton, New Hampshire saying hello. Welcome, Bob. Thanks for joining us. Chris Hawaii Baisa, who is a jet set driver. He is in North Carolina. Good evening from home in Fayetteville, North Carolina. Evelyn Grace says, hey. Eric Gunther, greetings from the back 40 in Carlisle. So welcome, Eric, and thanks for joining us. David Trump Sr., again, an intermodal driver from Chambersburg, saying hello. And we got Gary Vogel, hello from Davenport, Iowa, and Jeffrey Hubble. I'm not going to butcher your last name, Jeffrey. Greetings from a corner in Winslow, Arizona. So welcome from Winslow. Been through there many times driving from California to New Mexico and back. Thanks for joining us, Jeffrey.
All right. Next question is from Kevin Christopher Cohout. And his question is, are there any plans on retiring or scrapping the old containers, ones from 97, 98, with the newer containers coming into the U.S.?
You want to take that one, Jake?
I can. To my knowledge, we don't have any from 97, 98. I think the oldest containers we have, I think, are 05s. Dan Drella could give you a thumbs up or thumbs down on that.
Thumbs up from Dan.
Right. So we have a very low repair threshold on those. So right now the plan is to address them on a condition basis. And I'll tell you, the shops are pretty tuned in to keeping an eye out for those. And if we have one that's in good condition that's running, our intention is to continue running it because it's a good dry box that's hauling freight. One of the nice things about containers is there's really no moving parts aside from the doors. So as long as structurally they're good, we can keep running them. But we are absolutely willing to pull them out if there's damage over a certain threshold, and we are aggressively doing that. So we will continue to do that through the rest of this year, next year, and I suspect we'll work our way through those pretty quickly.
Thank you, Jake.
All right, we've got Robert Larrabee, and he is not asking a question, but he would like to put some 2 cents in, and maybe we can address it, maybe not. Regarding pay, I know you can't be specific, but I would like to put in my 2 cents. Currently, I'm on a daily pay account rather than mileage. In effect, I'm paid for everything I do, and while on most days I do about 450 miles a day, some loads are much less. Example, my load tomorrow is 91 miles each way. If I'm changed to a mileage rate, I fear I will lose money due to short days.
So can you bring it back down? So Bob, I didn't catch if you were on a dedicated account or on. Okay. So again, all those components of your pay are being considered, and I can tell you we're not going to do anything that's going to be detrimental to how you run. And I'll use the intermodal example as an intermodal example. Again, a local driver is paid in a by load, shipment by load, versus a regional intermodal driver more on a mileage. Than mileage is higher than shipment pay, than load pay, and then local load pay and no mileage pay. So I said all that to say that we're looking at those kind of components in pay, and we are configuring future pay in terms of our pay design change to account for those kind of things. So Bob, it sounds like you have not yet had your conversation with your DBL, but I would welcome the opportunity to speak to you about it. You can call me. I would love to hear more about it and just be able to have a better understanding, because I'm sure there's others out there that have similar concerns. So Bob, call me. So tomorrow's Thursday. I'm a bit locked up tomorrow, but Friday, noon to like 3, I'm pretty open. So if you have an opportunity, I'd welcome spending 15, 30 minutes with you, understanding your concerns and just from an awareness standpoint, helping me. So my cell is 213-219-2561. Give me a call. And I welcome the opportunity to hear more about that and kind of help address your concerns. Thank you, Bob.
All right. Levi Cody Allen. He's having the same seat troubles, Jake. He's wondering if we could have your number. What's the best way for drivers to report seat issues?
Yeah, I would really suggest, I think our maintenance crew, I should let Dan answer this one, because in fact, I think I will, Dan. Why don't you take this one? Because I think.
Yeah. We would certainly prefer that you come visit us in the shop. I mean, if there's a design flaw or a design issue, that's where we'll engage Jake and his engineering team to help us. But we want to get a first look at it and make sure that if it's something that we can address in our shop, we'll get you in and out and get you back on the road. So if you haven't done that yet, do that so we can get a look at it that way.
Okay. Derek Barnhart has a question. He delivers to Target stores and was wondering if there is an option to install a backup beeper on his truck. It would help let people know that he's backing up instead of blowing his horn a lot. People don't know what that means when you're blowing from the highway, blowing the highway horn for backing up.
Jake, you want to take that? I know we've looked at a few different things on cameras and everything else. I don't know that we've looked at backup alarms at all.
I think we've had some examples. I can tell you when we did first to final mile, it was a lot more integrated into what we do. Just because we were in residential areas, there's a lot more slow maneuvering. We can certainly take that one offline and take a look at it. I'm sure here's another one where if you could bring in the lefty and have Drella come on camera, I'm sure he could give you a little bit more of a history lesson on what we've done from a backup camera. But we can certainly take a look at that and follow up at the conclusion of the event.
Yeah, because I don't think the backup camera had a audible. It was just a video, right?
Yeah, and there were some challenges with the backup camera with obviously having multiple different trailers and latency with the connection but
those safety had a conversation just last week with engineering about that. in frequent vacuum situations, intermodal as well.
Yeah.
This is something we should consider. It's not terribly expensive like you so
Yeah.
it's a good takeaway to review.
Good.
Yeah, San Bernardino did just kind of a project, a small project, intermodal, San Bernardino intermodal, where they purchased a few of those cameras where you can attach them. Correct me if I'm wrong, Dan.
Sensors.
Yeah, sensors, not cameras, sensors, and then so the proximity sensor, and did some experimenting there. So the good news is we're always looking at safety and safety technology. Obviously, it has to be something from a cost and operational standpoint. We can, review the cost benefit and how to operationalize those kind of things. But those are the types of technologies we're constantly looking at and always evaluating. And again, Mirrorize one where we're extending the pilot and those kind of things. So good question. We appreciate it. And again, we continue to look at those kind of things, and where it makes sense, we try to implement pilots.
We've got a lot more call outs today if you want to take a look at those.
Okay, so I will go to the hellos and hey yous. Denise Smith says, hi, Jake. So, and Denise is a regular here again on the YRC account as a team driver. Welcome, Denise. And I don't know if those are her comments. I assume they are. Hello, drivers, associate relations, Dan and Jake. Drivers, please have a safe evening and thanks for all you do. Oh, that was Tim. And he's just happy to be here working for the Big Orange, to quote him. Welcome, Tim. Cavarisi King, hello. Jackie, and again, Jackie, I've butchered your name in the past, so I won't do that. Hello from Green Bay. Austin Wood, hello from Memphis. Enjoy Memphis out there. Terry Wolf, hello from Kingdom City. Bob Hamry, hello from the Gary OC. And another TE, Ben Starbuck, saying hello, and he's in Hudson, Ohio. And again, Ben and I have chatted about his account and some of those trailer and reporting issues. So welcome, Ben, and thank you for being here.
And then Denise did ask where Tammy is. She's fine. She was just a little bit late from traveling in from a recent trip that she had to take. So she is in the building, but wasn't able to be on camera. So
she made it just in the nick of time. So
all right. And we do have a question from Brian Forrest. He's from South Boston. He says hello. He's on the Dollar General account. He's a six-month driver. Quick question about PMs.
Mm-hmm.
How much mileage is in between each, or is it a time situation? And how is the mirrorless technology coming along?
Sure. Jake, I can take the first one if you want to take the second part of that one.
Sure.
Yeah, so from a PM, it is mileage and time based. So depending on the configuration, there's a couple of different things that we'll do depending on the truck spec that you have, Brian. But we try to extend that out as much as we can. Jake's team does a fantastic job of doing the great analysis to see how and when we need to make that oil change. But we can go out as far as 85,000 on an oil service, and depending on the truck of the spec, it may be a little bit different than that. But that's what we try to hit from a mileage perspective.
As far as the cameras go, I would tell you that the tests were early in the tests. I haven't been in contact with drivers directly in this particular rollout, but typically it's a little bit of a transition period when a driver gets into those units to get comfortable with it. Once they get in it, though, they typically find the field of view is significantly better. And then as we're able to either shrink or remove those West Coast mirrors, your field of view without the camera is better because you don't have the obstacle in your way, particularly at intersections. So we've had, to my knowledge, we haven't had any negative feedback on it. I know there's a little bit of apprehension anytime you change to something different, especially with depth perception and obviously the importance of visibility. We want to make sure we get it right. This is definitely a situation where we're going to measure twice and cut once. But so far, all the feedback that I've heard and the conversations I've been involved in have been really positive.
Anything you'd add, Dan, from that we can share up here? I can.
Yeah. No, there's another follow-up question about the progress of it. So we started with a pilot, about 6 units, put on about 2 million miles, positive reviews. So now we're going to expand from 6 to 200 units.
So pilot of 6, and
2 million miles.
2 million miles.
So
So
to get a good feel for it,
Yep.
now we're expanding to 200 units, and then we'll do that for 6 months and evaluate.
200 more units for 6 months and evaluate. I know there's select areas and that we're choosing strategically to ensure that in terms of what kind of service needs or anything like that, they're in a lane that we can quickly start address any kind of issues that we have or concerns. So thank you, Dan. Great having you here as a resource. And I know you've been very, very close to Mirror Eye. So.
And really positive feedback for nighttime drivers, right? On the visibility improvements that you get on
Weather,
on-
nighttime,
yep.
positives.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So to Jake's point, more positives than negatives. I have you heard many critiques at all on it? I mean, it's been a pretty
reliable.
positive rollout
Kelly
so
has
far.
Yeah, Kelly Lynn is she's
she's giving it the
doing
love
the heart
heart.
again like she was last time. She's a big fan, and she's also shared the kind of week to 2 weeks of kind of getting used to it, and then after that just really loving it. So
Another follow-up question on the cameras or the mirrorless cameras or the Mirror Eye.
Mirror Eye.
Can we get in-depth videos about the technology? They've heard great things from Kelly Lynn and would love to see more about it. So is there some training or videos that drivers can view that we can put on Compass?
Sure, we can work on getting some links for you.
Sure.
Yeah, and I think that's broader than just Mirror Eye, right? So that's one of the endeavors that we have is how do we get better capability, especially in that video capability of some of the features. So our OEMs do a nice job of providing some of that. So we're trying to provide drivers links to that direct based on VIN of the truck to give them the details of the specs of their truck. We're also doing that on the maintenance side. Jake's team has done a fantastic job of helping us with the repairs and those types of things that we'll try to expand that to our driver fleet as well for some of those easy type repairs that you can do. But videos are really the great way to share that type of information. So
we will take that down as a do out, and just know that we'll be working on something that we can do in terms of getting you out some links or some videos or whatever the case may be. But great call out. Appreciate the interest, and we'll get some more information out for you.
All right. Tarek Ketchen. Oh, I hope I didn't kill your name. I'm sorry if I did. He says, hello. We are always low on empty containers in Northwest Ohio. Are you guys buying anymore?
Jake, you want to cover?
Yeah, I would tell you we have pretty aggressive growth plans in intermodal. I think they want to double in size over the next, I can't remember the year. We just talked about it this afternoon and the year escapes me, but they have very aggressive growth plans.
8 years.
And we have a steady stream of intermodal containers coming in. I can tell you because I approve the payment on all of them every time they come in. We have to do it at the container level. But yeah, we have a steady flow of containers coming into the U.S. You know, right now our strategy is to bring them in loaded, which has been a fantastic strategy for us. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer because we got to get them in through the ports and get the final freight delivered before we can get them into our general population. But yeah, we've been getting a lot of containers very successfully, and I'm sure they will start to see some relief, hopefully in the near future, as those start to trickle through the rest of the network.
Good question. Thank you for that.
All right. Derek Barnhart has a question. Why are there only pets allowed for team drivers? I drive solo, and I would love to have a pet on board.
Yeah, so we get this question on a pretty regular basis. We thank you for the question. We understand why, and a lot of pet lovers out there, as am I. But just from a safety policy standpoint, we've decided we will not be allowing pets for solos. Not what you want to hear, and we don't have any intention of changing that at any point soon. Obviously, we allow them for team driving, and again, there's an extra layer of safety component there by having two folks in the truck. So for us, again, Schneider, we pride ourselves on our safety and believe in it, and take stances and policies that reinforce that. And so pets, unfortunately, for all the pet lovers out there, to include me, not something we're going to change that's planned anytime soon. So not the answer you want, but that's our answer at the moment.
All right. You can probably say a few more call outs.
Okay,
We're
we
getting
got-
quite
we're
a few
getting-
of those tonight.
Yeah, a lot of call outs. So Peter Carraro, hello from Midway, Georgia. Alex Mock, hello from Kentucky. Rich Wynn, associate relations leader here, also from Kentucky. So hello, Alex. Hi, greetings from Kim Mueller, bulk driver on my way to Toronto. Welcome, Kim, and thanks for being here tonight. Nicholas Duval, hello from West Palm Beach. Ashley McKinney, hello from Shrewsbury. And Drew Koopman is joining us. Drew is usually on the other side of the camera. We have Morgan tonight helping fill in, but Drew is with us. He's on vacation in Vietnam, and that's why Morgan is filling in. So again, we appreciate Morgan helping, but thanks for making us jealous, Drew, and appreciate you saying we sound good. Kurt Ditto, welcome, Kurt. Thanks for joining us. Hello from Wausau, Wisconsin. Did I say that right?
Wasa.
Okay, so I'm still learning the cities here. I can say La Puente or El Monte from California, but I'm still learning Manitowoc and Wausau and Antigo and the rest of them. So welcome, Kurt. And Dave, Mr. Gentleman Watley, hello from South Kearney. Welcome, Dave.
All right. So we have a few more questions coming in from some drivers from earlier things that we've gotten, not particularly from the chat yet. But we're seeing a lot of flooding across the country this spring. What is Schneider's stance on going into flooded areas? As some roads are flooded, others are not. So
Good question, and thank you for asking. So like any kind of event, and again, there's different degrees of kind of weather impact, and to include some of the catastrophic events, we're always evaluating that. We try to be very preemptive in our communication. What's coming, what's the plan, making sure we have accountability of all our associates, whether it's office, shop, at a certain location, be it Reserve or Houston or whatever the case may be. I use those examples because those are examples that we've had impacts in the past. Of course, what drivers are out there, where are they, how do we get them out to a safe area? So that's, in those situations, again, we try to be preemptive and aware of what's going on. I don't know that we can always be 100% in that space. So in those situations, if you have a concern, call your ops leaders, talk to them about it. Obviously, at that point, we'll start hearing those kind of concerns, and then we will try. Well, we won't try. We have a communications plan that with a bunch of leaders here at corporate from all the different departments, be it driver services, maintenance, operations, HR, etc. And we get those communication plans out and make sure we have an accurate count of our associates and where they are and if they're safe. So, but you will be that kind of first line of defense, if you will, and calling and saying, hey, I don't know about this. And then we will look at it, evaluate it, and obviously defer to you in terms of your safety and your comfort level specific to safety. But good question. Thank you for that.
all right, next question. Is Schneider concerned with fuel costs at this time? Is it costing us business? That's a great question.
Mm-hmm.
So we are concerned about fuel costs, and I'll refer back to the Buzz video where we had some of our engineering folks and purchasing folks on just trying to raise awareness, also some tips and things around MPG and fueling sites and those kind of things. When you have as many drivers as we do and running as many miles as we drive, even a penny, even a fraction of a savings adds up. So once you get into these kind of prices now that we have, it's a concern for sure. It's a concern, and that's why we recommend, to the extent that you can, the trip planning, the fuel optimization, all those kind of things. And it may seem, as you're out there, kind of, well, what difference does it make? This one over this one. It does actually make a difference. And again, when you multiply it by the number of drivers, the number of miles, it adds up quickly. Obviously, we want you to do the right thing in terms of what you need to be safe and keep moving. And on an exception basis, again, that's where we ask you to call your driver team leader, your operations leaders. But ultimately, in your day-to-day activities, we just ask that you, again, use the fuel optimization where we're sending you, where it's recommending to send you, and and help us in that regard. So we're all in this together, right? And so those tools are there to help. I don't know if you'd add anything else.
No, well said. I mean, obviously, anything that you can do to help improve that MPG is critical, right? And that's why we spend a lot of time training that and enforcing that. Obviously, those are expensive bills that we have to pay on fuel, so that's why we're so passionate about it. So appreciate everyone's support in helping be as efficient as possible.
Yeah, thank you.
Right. Next question is, I keep hearing about Schneider getting new dedicated business. With a truck shortage happening, where are we getting trucks to support the new business?
That's
I can take a run at that, Dan.
Sure.
I would tell you, I wish the answer was easy. So we have a pretty regular flow of new trucks coming in. So with reasonable notice, a lot of times we can adjust the specification on those trucks that are building depending on how unique or specialized they need to be. So, for example, we know we're going to be getting new trucks building, every month for the rest of the year. So in some cases, with enough lead time, we can just modify the spec of existing trucks. A lot of times what happens, though, is it's mainly the trailing asset. So we do have some variety in our trailers, whether they be flatbeds or quad axles, roll doors. We have some available in our fleet that we're able to reassign. In other cases, we haul our customers' trailers. Dollar General is a great example where we pull their trailers, and in some cases, we may offer to purchase the customer's equipment, or if we're replacing another carrier, we may offer to purchase the equipment from the other carrier as well, since depending on how unique and special it is in nature, they may not have a use for it when they exit that business. So it's really a kind of a multifaceted approach depending on the customer and depending on the opportunity. But if we have to acquire new equipment, it certainly takes a little bit longer, but in some cases we can make it work out.
And I think the only add I'd have in that is it also might delay our back end process, right, of turning in a truck. So when we get the new trucks, we may have to maintain them a little bit longer, which puts a little bit more stress on my team to keep that equipment up and running before we can out process that for sales. So we kind of ebb and flow based on what we're seeing from a demand perspective, but also what we see from coming inbound from our OEMs.
Okay. Next question is, what would it take to consider an electric fleet or make it viable?
We'll punt that one to Jake as well. Let's talk kilowatts, Jake.
Yeah. So last week, the reason I'm home right now is I was at an event. There was a significant number of people, and all we talked about was electric trucks and hydrogen fuel cell and zero emissions. So it was a great opportunity to just see where the industry is headed. And I'll tell you, there's still some considerable challenges as it relates to large. When I say large scale, I mean broader fleet deployment of battery electric. One of the challenges, and probably the most significant challenge, is the range. So we need to try to find applications where the truck can deliver and make it back to be able to recharge. And today, that range varies depending on who the manufacturer is, anywhere from 100 miles to 230 miles, and there's some new entrants that are advertising over 300 miles, but the problem is some of those are over 30,000 pounds, which gets you to the second issue, which is it's a much heavier vehicle. So depending on the payload, you may not be able to haul the same amount of payload, which isn't always acceptable to a lot of customers. So along with that, then the infrastructure, which Dan is very familiar with, the challenges associated with the infrastructure and the cost and complexity associated with that. The amount of power required to recharge these trucks is astronomical, especially when you do any sizable quantity. We have a very large scale deployment going on in El Monte. We've learned a lot. We're excited for the opportunity. We expect to be very successful in doing that, but it's a very unique opportunity with unique freight characteristics, unique cargo characteristics. They're home and back, they're out and back frequently, and there's a lot of support from the local municipalities as well to help us execute that. So being able to replicate that model, I think it really it takes kind of that perfect scenario for us to be able to repeat that elsewhere. But the good news is, after going through this exercise, I think Dan would agree, is we're much more proficient. I feel like if we had to do this again, we would be much we'd be very well prepared to do it again, should we find the right opportunity to do that.
And I don't think it's an if, it's a when, right? So I mean, this is clearly where the future is going with our trucks is zero emissions. So our OEMs have committed to that. So that's going to be the future of trucking is maybe battery electric, maybe hydrogen, maybe something else, some technology that that doesn't exist today. But I mean, clearly that is where our industry is going. So to Jake's point, I mean, we're in the midst of a pretty significant deployment in El Monte, California. We're going to continue to have to solve for California first, and then figure out, you know, where we go from there. But if you think about just the challenges that presents, you know, there's a couple of big challenges that need to be solved. Jake hit on one on the range. The range just isn't there right now to support it from a over-the-road perspective, but also from a cost perspective, right? They're extremely expensive trucks, and so we need that cost to come down. You need the range to go up, and then you need the power to support it, right? And that's kind of the trifecta of challenges that we currently face as an industry, that there's a lot of people working towards trying to figure all that stuff out, right? And so it's kind of an exciting time, I think, for our industry to figure out how to go from a combustion engine to a zero emission engine in the near future. So
if I remember correctly, Jake, you had also talked about the impact of the driver as different drivers were in the electric truck. Certain ones were getting more range than others. So again, another just kind of component and complexity of, you know, 230 miles or 200 miles in that local setting. So lots of fun stuff to work with and deal with, and we're moving forward with it and excited about it. But this is, as Dan said, this is the direction that things are going, and we're happy to be in the space and helping to move it forward. So.
Yeah, Robert, the other comment I'd just make is we saw up to 20% variation in range per driver, but the temperature in which it's operating also has a tremendous impact on the range. So in Green Bay, on a day like today, perfect weather to drive a battery electric, but in mid-January, you know, you could lose 30%, in some cases are reporting up to 40% of your battery range, because so much energy is required to heat the batteries so that they don't get negatively impacted on their life and performance. So temperature is such a critical impact in it as well.
Yeah.
Right.
Good call out, Jake. Thank you.
Follow-up question. With Intermodal SoCal running over 50 electric trucks, will we be breaking ground on any charging stations?
We are. Yeah, that's part of this this program is to put in a pretty sizable charging station in El Monte. So we just met this afternoon on that. I was out in El Monte last week visiting that site as well, and got to see where we're putting all that. To Jake's point, it's a tremendous amount of electricity that's going to be coming into that location. But yeah, we'll be breaking ground towards the end of this year, and we'll be launching pretty much end of year, January timeframe, with our own charging station in El Monte, and we're gonna also look at San Bernardino and then go to Northern Cal. So yeah, we'll have our own charging stations. That's really the only way you can solve for it on the range. You can't go somewhere else to charge and then try to execute the work that you're trying to execute. So you need to be really close to your domicile location to be able to work with the range that we have available. But yeah, we're in the midst of that. We got engineers going out there tomorrow to start mapping things out. So it's an exciting time.
Yeah, good stuff.
All right.
Thank you for that follow-up.
All right, and different subject. I saw a Midwest truck at our OC the other day. Do they have full access to all of our facilities now?
So I believe the answer is yes.
Yep,
we're welcoming them in as part of the family. Obviously, the logo and all that stays separate, as does the operation itself. But we are trying to leverage the different aspects that of the network that are a benefit of ours for them, recruiting, maintenance, some purchasing stuff, those kind of things, and certainly our current infrastructure, and welcoming them to the sites. And you'll see more of that as we go along. I don't know if you.
Yeah, so if there's any MLS drivers out there, welcome to the chat as well, because you're certainly under the Schneider family, and we appreciate you joining if you're out there. But yeah, we've based on where the lanes that MLS runs, it doesn't hit all of our locations,
Right.
but certainly hits a number of them kind of in the center of the country that we're going to see them utilizing for their park locations. We'll do some light maintenance with their units. There's some challenges that we're running in with that. Volvos versus Freightliners and parts and tooling and training that we got to work through. But yeah, they have full access to all our locations, our services, whatever they need. They're part of the Schneider family. So
I'd encourage you to say hello and
Absolutely.
welcome them. And
Absolutely.
we're starting to get to know them a little better. And but by all means, say hello and welcome to the family, and help them to whatever extent you can in terms of information resource.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity to spend a lot of time with that group. Great group of folks, drivers, the dispatchers, the shop. They're all really good and a real good cultural fit for Schneider. So it's been fun to kind of see the interactions that we've had with them. So
Good. Yeah, good stuff.
So Kim Mueller would like to know if you can add a fuel additive to make your fuel go further.
Yeah, I'd be happy to take this one on. So we get phone calls probably once a month saying, I've got this special stuff that is going to give you 12 to 20% better fuel economy. And what I would tell you is, if that was true, every OEM would be using it. So there's a couple of very important things to understand. One, the only thing that we allow to be added to the fuel is a 4-point depressant in the heart of the winter. And the reason for that is because so many additives can actually cause harm to the engine at a far greater rate. We've tested extensively multiple different fuel additives and options over the course of our history, but these new engines are so sensitive to fuel quality that additives are very detrimental. In some cases, they can cause major damage to injectors. If we were to damage a set of injectors today, you'd be looking at $5,000 to $6,000, which would not be covered under warranty. And if it were to damage them to the point where they dumped too much fuel into the engine and it got into the after treatment, you could be looking at a $30,000 repair bill, and the truck might be down, because that is one of the components that is significantly short supplied right now, because the precious metal used in most after treatment systems is similar to catalytic converters, which is why you hear about the theft so much, is palladium. And the primary producer of palladium in the world is the Ukraine.
Yep.
So we're very, very sensitive to fuel quality, where we strongly advise against it to anybody that runs a diesel truck, but we absolutely do not allow it for company trucks, because it is far more detrimental than it is beneficial. The only exception would be a 4-point depressant in the middle of winter, and that's only in severe temperatures, because we already work with our fuel suppliers to treat the fuel in the wintertime to make sure that we don't have issues with fuel gelling in the wintertime. So
Thank you, Jake.
All right. Tara Ketchen has another question. There are truck stops that sell diesel for at least 30 or 40 cents less a gallon than Pilot does. Does Schneider really get a better discount?
Hey, you want me to take that one, Jake?
yes.
Yeah, so what you see at the pump isn't necessarily what we pay, and so that's the key differentiator, and that's why the fuel optimizer is so important, right? So that's a retail price. We work with our fuel providers to obviously benefit us from a volume of fuel purchase, so we get a little bit different of a price. So the fuel optimizer takes all of that into consideration of looking at what our cost is and what the market rate is in that market, what the taxes are within that market, to make the best decision from a cost perspective to get us the lowest cost option for that fuel, and optimize the route that driver's on. So don't get fooled by the sticker shock on the pump price, as much as really use that optimizer.
And prices change, so
Absolutely.
that's why it's important from one day to the next, follow the optimizer.
Continuing on with fuel, Rick Ritchie, with the new fuel update, I'm fueling often with 3/4 of a tank. I'm running only Georgia, so I know the state taxes aren't affecting where I stop. I tend to miss a lot of my stops, but have to fuel on Monday fuel stops. Is there a number I can call to reroute me to a fuel stop?
That sounds very specific to you and your truck. So what I would ask is just if you can send us your truck number. What we can do is we can follow up with our kind of fuel gurus, and we'll take down your name, your truck number, the details that you just shared, and then we can follow up with you on that.
Absolutely.
Because it sounds very specific to you and what's happening.
Yeah, just to give a little context, is in the system, in the optimizer system, it is retrieving the fuel level through the ultrasonic fuel level sensor in the tank, and it's reporting that back to the system. It is also then comparing to the fuel tank capacity that we've got captured in our equipment management system. So if either one of those is acting up, it could create the scenario that he described, but that's an easy one that we could follow up on.
Yeah. Thank you, Jake. So we'll follow up on that one with you. Let's take a couple more questions. We're at 7:05, but we'll take a couple more questions. I'll do the quick shout outs, and then we'll do a couple more questions, and then we can follow up with anyone that we didn't get to. But it's been great, these questions. And again, with our experts we have here, that obviously this is the time to take advantage of this expertise and knowledge. But we will definitely follow up on any questions and get responses back to you. So my good friend Sargis Danielin from South El Monte in the training academy there is saying hello. Hello, Sargis. Thanks for joining us. Miss you guys out there on the West Coast. John Scarlato is saying hi from Chambersburg. And Alan Denton, hello from Edwardsville, Ohio. Me and all the other NDF drivers. And a laugh out loud. Welcome, Alan, and all the other NDF drivers to the Facebook chat.
All right. Mike Marsh has a question. Will there be any movement in being able to do PC, personal conveyance, as a company driver? PC would personally save me 45-ish minutes every Monday and also give me slightly more cushion on getting home on Friday.
Yeah, so thanks for the question, Mike. The short answer is no, there's not any discussion to change that at the moment. Again, not what you want to hear, but no change to the PC.
All right. And I think this is the final question.
Okay.
Which is from Kurt Ditto. LOL. Are you guys on duty line 4 making this video chat?
We are definitely on duty, not driving. So thank you, Kurt. Appreciate seeing you there and the questions and of course the comedy as well. We could definitely use it. So we want to thank you all for joining us tonight. We want to thank our guests, Jake and Dan, and we want to thank Dan Drella from Safety in the Back as well. And again, Kylie and Kelly Lynn. Didn't bring you on camera, but we appreciate you being here as you came for training this week. And of course, the Associate Relations team. Thank you to Vicky for pitch hitting at the last minute. Builds character, right?
It does.
So thank you all for being here. We appreciate you. We'll get back to those of you that have a question that we didn't answer. We want to thank Morgan for filling in for that one guy whose name we don't remember that's in Vietnam right now, enjoying vacation. And we'll see you all next month. Be safe.